So thank you everyone for joining today. My name is Natasha Telger and I'm with Illinois Worknet, and we're going to be going over the tools that we have for returning citizens, and I wanted to break it down into smaller chunks of information, and like first things first, just to make sure that everybody knows how to access the tools. We're going to take a look at the overall process, and then we're going to take a look about how you add customers and update some of the profile information. And then I want to make sure that each of you can access the tools. So, and if there's any time left, then we can take a look at
the 12:05. All right, sounds good. We're ready.
and then, so we'll just go ahead and jump in. So the very first thing I guess I should do is go all the way back to IllinoisWorknet.com. And Illinois Worknet, if you're not familiar with Illinois Worknet, has a variety of resources. We have information for individuals, for employers, and for partners, and it's all around providing resources to help our customers reach their training and employment goals. And so when you go to IllinoisWorknet.com, you default go to the individual side. And what I want to bring your attention to, we'll circle back. If you don't have an Illinois Worknet account, we'll do that towards the end. But up in the header for Illinois Worknet, you can see I'm already logged in, and there's an icon here that says Partners. If you click on Partners, it flips over to the partner side, and that site is blue. And so we have a variety of, there's all kinds of resources here, but today we're just really going to focus on the returning citizens piece. And so as you scroll down, you'll see that we have an area for program guides for partners, okay? And then you'll see we have a returning citizens tile right here. Just know in this area, this was our initial, I guess you want to call, not really logo, but attempt at a tile or artwork, whatever you want to call it. So this might change, but just know that this is where you can find it. So you'll find returning citizens under the program guides for partners. And you don't have to be logged in to access these resources. We do use a partner guide because we want to be able to provide guidance and instructions and updates and the schedule for upcoming events and training all in one place. So that's why I'm taking the time to slowly go through this so you know exactly where to find the returning citizens information. Our partner guides are set up, so at the very top you'll see there's a link to the partner tools. So once you have an Illinois Worknet account that's been made a partner account, I'll give you access to the returning citizens tools in Illinois Worknet, and you can click this link and it goes directly into your list of people that you have access to. Down here further, we have an area called Partner Guidance. Partner Guidance is, we use it's an article format, and so what we try to do is give you kind of like the executive summary of the overview with a listing of resources, and then we'll put our archived webinar, or tutorial, whatever is most appropriate, that goes along with each of these guidance areas. So we're just getting started. So I have one article there at the moment, but we'll continue to add more articles as we continue to progress through our training and building out the tools. The next area is the training materials and videos. And so the webinar that we're doing right this very moment will be put here in this section. I don't know if you can see my under watch. We'll put that there as we move forward and the dust starts to settle on how to do the different types of use the different tools that are available for this program. Then we'll do short tutorials so that if you have any turnover in your staff, you can show them and direct them to this page and they can watch the tutorials on how to use the tools in Only WorkNet. So we'll keep an ongoing list of our training so you can reference back to it. And then we'll put the list of resources and then the agenda items here. We have our full list of resources. As you go to this page, you'll notice that I have some areas have links, some areas are kind of grayed out and they have a little asterisk next to them. That's because we've done quite a few programs and we know some of the different resources that are really needed for the program. And so they're not available on this page yet, but they will be coming soon. So just so you know that we have additional resources that will be added to this page. I have some items in red that later on we can talk about those as a group as we move forward to see if we need to have these types of resources. And then partner tool updates. If you're ever curious as to what's the latest and greatest going on with the tools, you can go to partner tool updates and I'll try to be really, really good. I try to be really, really good. Sometimes I miss a release, but if you see, all of a sudden you're like, oh, well, there were two days on there, and instead of just one, the last, an update. But I'll try to be very, very, very good about, making sure that these are up. The updates are listed on the page exactly right when the tools are released. So you'll have the latest and greatest for your updates. Okay, and then as we move down here towards the bottom, we have an event calendar, and typically for the programs we set up a standing meeting time. So as we do that in the future, then you'll see we'll have our webinar and our link to the webinar that would be used for that particular day, and then the topic. So as we continue to find areas that we need more technical assistance on, you'll see that we're going to be building out this list of upcoming events. And then once they are passed, we put them in the past events area. So you can always see, look back on it and see what information's been covered. And then for this particular program, we have a challenges and solutions survey. So if there's any area that you think of that you have encountered, some challenges and you're like, oh, well, this was a challenge, but we came up with this workaround or this alternate method, please do submit either, both, because we'll be collecting this information and using it to help determine what different types of training, technical assistance training is needed, and then also for sharing best practices, and then also for reaching out to others to find some technical assistance solutions. So those are the overview. That's the overview. So who wants to tell me, how do I get to this page?
Illinois WorkNet.
And then?
And then partners, returning citizens. And then you go to partner citizens.
Yeah, so we'll start out on, very good. So we start out on WorkNet. We click partners.
Yep.
We go down here.
Returning citizens.
Returning citizens. And voila, and you are there. So you can access the partner tools. So very good. Okay.
Gold star.
Gold star for you, yes. We go through this process because it's amazing, it seems so easy to find, and then you step away and you do 20 other things. You're like, wait a minute, how did I find it? So you just want to make sure you always at least can get to this page so you can find the answers. Okay, so I'm not going to go into the actual production tools because we are recording this and I would like to post it. And I don't want to put our customers' information out there. But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to test. And so I am in our test returning citizens area, and this looks the same way for production. I'm logged in as a test person. And actually, let me do one more thing. Before I go, I'm jumping the gun here. Let me go, because I said we were going to go over the overall process. So let me just go to the overall process first. First things first. Okay, so what we do when we use these tools with Customer Support Center, and these tools we have to set them up because they allow, we use different roles and access levels to give people the appropriate access to their customers, okay? So what's been done in the background already is we have our what we call our Customer Support Center groups, and they've been set up for Kewaunee, Logan, Murfreesboro. And so now what we do is we're asking for people to, so we've kind of gone through here. So we go, now we're asking for grantee staff to set up their Illinois Worknet account. So to do that, you just go to illinoisworknet.com and set up an account just like anybody else. And then you send us an email, or if you wanted to have, you know, if you wanted to send them, a list of names to Mark, and he sends it to me, that's fine. Typically, either way, you send it to Mark, or you can send it to info@, as long as I get them.
Just interrupt you for a second. This is Jennifer Parrick. So we have started to put together or have our list of guides that we want to do with the mass upload, so we don't have to input them individually. But before I can send that to you, I need to ensure that our offender population is comfortable with their information being loaded into the system. Okay. So we will need to just communicate that to them. And if they want to opt out, as you know, remember I said I have to give the ability for people to opt out, then we just won't send you that information. And of course, you know, if they choose to opt back in, they can be added at a later time. But they'll know that they won't have access to this information or be able to work with the American Job Center team if their information is not inputted in this system. So I do have that Excel spreadsheet, so you guys can do the mass upload, so we don't have to individually put them in like we talked about. Okay, but you'll still need to have staff that is working in the tools. Is that correct or no? Yeah. Correct. Okay. And then moving forward, we'll be able to input this information with the offender in the reentry resource room. But we had talked about not us having to go back. So for all our guys here, you could do a data dump if we sent you a spreadsheet. Is that still correct? Yes. Yep. Yep. So this part right here is so for the staff that will be entering data and needing to access data in Illinois Worknet, we just need you to have your Illinois Worknet account, and then just to let, you know, either Mark or me, you know, through info@ know that, you know, your Illinois Worknet account is created and that you are ready, you know, you're requesting access to the returning citizens tool. Because what will happen then is that I will change your individual account to a partner account and give you access to the tool. So I believe I already gave Janelle Mead and Katie Young access to the tool. So there's just a few other people that, you know, we'll need to work through that process. And so we'll get you with the right location. And
yeah, Katie Young is at Logan.
Yeah, that's what I just said that in our room too.
And then, so then once we have, you know, the staff in the system, then we can enroll the offenders. And so the way we have the process right now is Department of Corrections. Well, like you, Jennifer, like you just said, you're going to provide information about the program, And, you know, those who want to be entered into the system will be entered in there. Right now we have it set up that the Department of Corrections, IDS, or Title I-B staff could enter them, their basic information to WorkNet. We'll look at those tools. And so what the system does, it checks to see if they already have an Illinois WorkNet account. If it does, great. If it doesn't, then it creates a username and temporary password for them. And then they're automatically assigned to whichever parent institution that they were entered with. And then you can access their information. So that's how we make the connection between the staff and the offenders. And so we do it this way by adding it, or, you know, this initial data dump basically, is because Illinois WorkNet otherwise requires you to have an email account, and we know that many of these folks don't have that email account. So this allows us to get around that requirement for Illinois WorkNet. Now, once they are in the system, then we can start identifying, we call it an integrated resource team. We can start identifying the different partners that are going to access or work with this customer or the offender. We have different tools in the checklist to help that the different partners can use with identifying, you know, exploring careers, finding, you know, their working on their job search, and so forth. And so for those participants that are going to be receiving the training through with the Title I-B staff, then this is really more for them, but they'll enter that information into their federal reporting system, which is called IWDS. And so this just shows that process of how it syncs with that information. But on the bigger picture piece that will be used by all the partners is we have a checklist, a career plan, and outcomes areas within the tools, as well as dashboards and reports and case notes. So those are used across the overall, the entire process. I'll be adding on to this process flow as we nail down more of the details as it comes, you know, when it comes to connecting them with the different providers in the returning MSR county. Okay, so now we can jump into the tools. So if I'm from the guide, I click the link to get to my tools. The first thing I'm going to come to is my customer list, and to add a customer. So I think everybody's going to have something here to start with, but because I think there's people in for everybody. But the first thing you're going to do is click on Add Customer, and we have instructions for this. They're in the partner guide. You're going to click on Add Customer. If you have access to more than one location, you would select the location. In this, my test environment, this particular partner only has access to Kiwani. And then I'm not even going to pretend like I know remember a DOC number, but I guess I should put in some 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then you just put in the name. Okay, so we have the parent institution, the DOC number, and the first name and last name are required. The social security number is not required. If you have it, we would like for you to put it in because it helps to make a better match or potential match within Illinois WorkNet. But if you don't have it, it's not a showstopper, so you don't have to worry about it. You enter the date of birth, county of commitment. You can add in multiple counties. Their MSR date, the MSR county, and offenses. So you can, again, select multiple offenses. And then the enrollment date. So let's just say that, what is today? The 2nd, we're enrolling them today. And then you hit add customer. It's going to see if there's already an Illinois Worknet account. And there wasn't an Illinois Worknet account already. So you'll see that we have the person, it auto-generated a username and a password for this person, told you it's a new account that's created. And so you could write this down, or we can export this. I believe they can export this is a temporary password. But just know that even if for some reason, you know, you happen to close out of this screen and you don't write down the username and you don't write down the password, it's not a showstopper, because you can look up the username at any time and you can update their password at any time. Okay. So whenever now they're added to your list, if you needed to search for somebody, you can start typing in, and it does an autofill, and then, you know, search. Okay. The other feature that was added was this export. So you can, let me see if I can zoom in on this. It might be hard for you to read. So it's going to be pre-selected with the Worknet ID, first name, last name, and you can choose to select other areas that you want to have exported if you would like to export this information. One of the things that we do ask is that if you have a question about an individual or need assistance with a person's account, that, you know, you can include like their first initial, last name, but if you could always include their Worknet ID instead of, you know, a bunch of personal information, then that's the approach we need to go with. We just don't, that's just our standard approach. We prefer people not include names, just use their Worknet ID. But it's okay to do like first initial, last name. Okay, so this is your customer list. You'll be able to, there's a variety of search fields. These fields, we're not going to go into the dashboard today, but correspond with the dashboard, so you can narrow and drill down this list even further as we move forward. Each of these areas, you can see it sorts, and you know, if you click on first name, last name, you know, you can just click on them and it'll sort. Same thing with the MSR date. And then the LWIA is auto-generated based on the county. Okay. So any questions so far about how to add a customer?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay. So we're going to go ahead. I'm just going to check. Let's see. Pick somebody that's not. There we go. So once I select a person, now I get my customer level information. And so what we found out over various programs is that it's really helpful to have this overview at the individual level, so you can see what needs to happen for each of these, for this person individually. So what you'll see is the very first thing is that we need to identify their status. Once they are put into the system, they're automatically made active. If you needed to exit them because they withdrew, transferred to a different location, were released, or if there's an other, you know, you can go ahead and update that status, and then you can always see the history. Let's say if I change this to withdrew, it's going to prompt me to enter a case note. I'm just going to save this one as a case note. Go away. And then I can see my exit history. I want to make this person active again. there's my history. So if I did it on accident, here you can see what happened. We have the checklist, and we'll take a look at the checklist in just a little bit. But this is where we can start to identify the list of partners. So let's say, you know, a person mainly works with Jennifer, or in this case, let's say it's train 10. Hit save. You can click on it and you can see the listing of partners. Maybe, you know, one is with Kayla, you know, versus somebody else. You can see who's been working with that particular customer. And then we have the career plan, outcome status, and then the 30-day review history. So this is just the, what was that?
Oh, it's our radios.
Oh, okay. As I mentioned before, you don't have to stress about if you missed that username and password, because in the profile, and this will be continue to be built out as well, the profile, but you can see the username is right here. And then if you need to reset the password, you can reset the password. Now, this is important because even if your customers cannot access the internet, I know that there are some staff that are working with them to do the interest profiler, and so they wanted to log in as that customer and, you know, complete the interest profiler under their name, even though the offender's not actually touching the computer, the staff person is. So one thing to know is that if you are doing that, and so I'm in Chrome right now, if you're gonna log in as that person, open up a different browser, and then you can go to onlyworknet.com and put in the username and put in whatever password that you had to reset. Understand that whenever you reset this password, it creates it as a temporary password. So once you say, okay, I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna log in using Firefox, I'm gonna type in the person's username and the temporary password, it's gonna prompt you to reset it. So you would need to reset at that time, and then you can go ahead and continue on with the interest inventories and so forth. Okay, so the next area is the checklist, and we are continuing to build out the functionality of the checklist, but it is out there in production and available for everyone to use. Again, you'll see that we have those action items at the top of each page, and we do that. We've learned over the years that, you know, it's just easier, better communicating, I don't know, however you want to say it, to let people know what items need to be completed, especially when they go to that page. And so you can, you know, click on the not completed item and it'll take you down to be completed. So for each of these areas, they have these blue lines, which are, you know, collapsible or accordions, however you like to, whatever you want to call it. You can open up the information. So let's say that I'm working with an offender and now their MSR date has changed to August 2nd, and I can just click on, you know, the date, hit save, and now their MSR date has been updated. The parent institution was set whenever they were entered into the system. So if this was put in incorrectly, or they moved for whatever reason, I don't know if that's even a possibility, you know, just send us a message, either me or Cody, and I can work with Cody to have that changed.
Natasha, this is Kayla.
Hi.
Is everyone supposed to have those accordion things? Because I'm looking at my, and I don't.
Counselor Sullivan, and they.
Let's see here.
Okay.
Let me look for you. For who? Which one? Which person? Give me a last name.
Young.
Young.
Young, Y-O-U-N-G.
For your customers?
Yes, I'm looking at one of my customers, and I'm where you are where under number 7 there, where it says schedule appointment. Below that, you have the DOC profile information. I have career plan and action items.
Oh, are you on the checklist page though?
Yeah, I can't see. Is that not where you are? Because
It goes, there's,
or no, I'm at the overview. I'm on the
Yeah.
overview.
if you go to checklist, the
Okay.
overview is just the overview of like everything. If you go to
Sorry,
checklist-
I couldn't see the top of your screen, so I wasn't sure which tab you were on. Thank you.
No, that's a good question. I'm glad that you're looking at it. So I thought, I don't know, double checking. So, yeah, so I know some of the, we've been working with some folks, and so this is information that's been changes quite a bit. So, you can, that information is available for you to update now. They're working on putting together, updating the sync information. Right now, we have it set up so that if you hit edit, you can edit all the information in this field. My programmer was working on a view so that if you're in a position where the offenders can access the internet, that may or may not be the case right now, but they would have a view that where they could enter that information. So you could work with them as a group as opposed to individually. Again, we're just trying to build in the functionality so you have options that work with however you have your program set up. So these are the different areas, that we had previously talked about, like with information for exploring careers, information about their job search preparation. So this will continue to be built out. They can add in an address, multiple potential addresses. And then we have the tools here where they can set up the appointment and transition them, so they can refer them to their local LWIA partner. So expect some changes in this area, but we did want to go ahead and push it out to production so that at least you can keep their MSR date updated and start building out some of that information. You can start filling out, populating these different areas with data. It's fine. Just know that kind of like the look and feel may change a little bit. The other thing that we have up here are case notes. So you can add case notes. So you can say, this is just our global case note tool. So you can put something in here about assessments if you wanted to. You can type in the text. You can send it as a message or an email to other partners, not to the offender. They can't receive messages while they are in custody, but once they are released or discharged, then that will be enabled for them, but not until that time. You can just save it as a case note without sending any messages. Oh, did I put that? What happened? There. Oh, meant to hit it twice. And then, that's weird. Why are you not looking like you're there? Oh, there it is. Okay. There we go. So both my case notes are there, so you'll be able to see the category basically. This is actually a title, this is the text, and then you can see it was saved as a case note without sending it a message, and I'm logged in as train 10, so it said that I am the one that made the case note, and it gave it a timestamp. So we also have the career plan. I I want to make sure that people can access, at least get into the tools and access the tools before we get off today with the rest of our time. And then we can come back and look at this. But know that one of our next webinars will be more about the career plan, and I'll just give you a brief overview. It's already populated with some services, but the next webinar will be more about like updating those services that are available. Again, you can type case notes in there if you want to go ahead and start using it. Case note tab is where it gives a summary of the case notes. Same thing with outcomes, assessments, and so forth as we move down the list. But for starters, like the goal of today was really to make sure that you knew where to access the tools, how to add customers so we can start doing that, how to update their profile information, and then I want to make sure that you can get into the tools. Is that go along with others' expectations, or did you want me to focus more on, we have 20 minutes left, and I can spend that time with making sure that the DOC staff, you know, get their Illinois Worknet account set up and ensure they can have access to the tools, or I can spend that time going over the career plan.
Natasha, this is Kayla again. Hey, so I'm super excited to see that the assessment stuff goes to CIS, so yay. But how, I mean, is there login different for CIS, or is it the same information, or does it just automatically log them in from Worknet?
It's a good question. It automatically logs them in from Worknet. So I'm going to go to my account, and you can see up in my dashboard, I have skills and interests. I could go directly from there, or I have interests. Either way, when I go to that, it does a single sign-on, and it takes me into CIS. And then it'll know that I have, we know who has interest inventories. And so, for example, let me go to one of my sample accounts. This is not within returning citizens, but I just want to show you an example of what that would look like. People. Okay, so in my test people, I'm pretty sure this person has an interest inventory. Okay, come on. Okay, so this is a little bit different view, but it still looks similar to what, if I go to assessments within returning citizens, it looks the same as if, you know, I'm in this area as well. So I go skills and interest, you'll see it says view interest. And when I go into view interest, it automatically logs me into that other person's account so that you can view their saved results. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay.
So, Natasha, this is Jen. Can you check to see if you either have my account or Janelle Mead's account? And then I think for us internally and DOC in the room, we probably want to be able to explore and have discussion internally the tool once we have access into it. And then I will have some follow-up questions.
Okay, so you want me to, we can just go ahead and spend the rest of the time making sure that everyone has access.
Right, but I don't think, did you send everyone's information? We didn't send everyone's information. So everyone in this room probably you won't have made them an account yet.
Well, no, but what needs to happen is they need to make an account. So if you want to use, you have a computer with another browser, or even that browser, you can just have them log into Illinois WorkNet, create an Illinois WorkNet account,
Okay,
and then log out, create an Illinois WorkNet account, log out, you know, and then once they're all in there, then I'll just make them all partner accounts and give everybody access.
so that won't happen on our computer in this room in the next 20 minutes for all of us. My plan administrator, Amy Royce, is in here laughing. So we won't spend our last 15 minutes doing that on the DOC side. We'll do that after we're done with this.
Okay. Sounds good.
And the instructions for that are in the attachment that I sent.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Okay. So just real quick, I'll just go over the career plan then. So for the career plan, this is our Illinois WorkNet career plan, and it uses a process where, again, we bring in the assessment tools that we have from the other places. So it should look very familiar to the various areas I was showing Kayla, with the skills and interests, you know, employment goals, education levels. So these are like our typical things that people can use for an assessment. As far as Department of Corrections is concerned, you do or don't have to use this area. That'll be up to you guys. But we have assessment summary areas where you can say, well, this person, maybe it's for independent living skills. What are my strengths? What do I need to do to improve? You know, what will my case manager help me do? What will my career advisor help me do? I don't have any family, but I need lots of other supports. And then I can save it. And then you can see the different summaries that were written whenever they're starting to put together and kind of talk about, you know, the things that they want to accomplish, where they are, their starting points, and what they need to do to reach the goals. So then we have the next part, which is set goals. And so you can set goals, but we already have some pre-populated goals already. And those pre-populated goals already have some steps associated with them. And so the next step is add steps and services. And so we updated the look and feel of this page. If you were familiar with this and you're looking at it and you're like, wait a minute, that looks a little different. The look looks different, but the functionality is still the same. We broke it down so that for this goal, it says complete intake of mandatory life skills education. You can see the different skills, the different services that are available here. If you needed to remove it, you could remove it. You have the little edit button where you can include a start date, due date, weekly hours, special instructions. For the DOC services, they would be no for WIOA funded. So you can fill out as much or as little as you want to. When I say as little, it's really you would need to include the required information. So the goal's already populated. You have start date, due date, weekly hours, and the status. So let me just go ahead and enter some information here. And I'm just gonna say it started. I don't know what I did here, but we'll go ahead and since they updated it, I'll have to have Cody look at this because it says there's an error. So it's expecting me to do something else on one of these other tabs. So I will have him look at that real quick. But we just pushed it out. I was trying to get it pushed out real quick before this session. But so you'll be able to add those services or those steps. Like I said, we wanted to help streamline the process. So over the various meetings, we talked about different types of services that would be available and had those pre-populated into the system. And so that is how you add that information. And we have an update log so you can see who updated what. And then we have our overview page for our career plan. And it gives you, you know, just a high-level overview of what assessments are available or been completed. If they've selected, you know, maybe they selected like manufacturing, they wanted CNC and welding, and their wage goal is whatever. You can see that on this page. You can see an overview of the credentials that they've earned, how many goals they've completed, how many steps or services they've completed, and then you can see the show and hide the different steps. The offender will have a view of it if they're allowed to access their the internet. They'll have a view of their career plan, if they're allowed to see it or not. One of the things that this will be used for in the future is that whenever they are transitioning to the LWIA, once they are released, then the other partner staff will have visibility of what has already taken place as far as the different types of services. And so the intent is to streamline access to services and to really kind of, you know, get them going with their, you know, hit the ground running as far as, you know, receiving services, getting them back on their feet so they have the best chance they can to succeed. Any questions so far?
None from Kiwani.
Okay. Okay.
Live.
What was that?
That's my radio again, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Well, that's what I have for today. And so we'll do another session on the 8th. Go ahead and you can, you know, have those, you know, create the Illinois Worknet accounts, and then I can switch them over to partner accounts and give everyone access to the tools, and then you can jump right on in there.
Thank you, Natasha.
Yeah, thanks everyone. All right.
I know there's other people on the call. Did anyone else have anything? Okay. All right, we're good. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Natasha.
Thanks. Bye.